If it had not been for one woman that stood up for what she believed in and standing up for the rights of women, then I don't believe that we would have the rights that we have today. One of her sayings was, "You take people as far as they will go, not as far as you would like them to go." This lady was Jeannette Rankin. Jeannette Rankin was a native of Montana, and she was born in 1880. She graduated from the University of Montana in 1912. She didn't know what she wanted to do as a career at this time. She tried dressmaking and then furniture design. At the age of 28, she became a social worker in Washington, where she also joined the women's suffrage movement. She was involved with the women's suffrage movement from 1909 through 1914 in the state of Washington, California, Ohio, and Montana. She supported women's rights, also became an advocate for peace. It was in 1911 when she went before the Montana legislature, making her case for women's suffrage, and in 1914, Montana passed the amendment granting women unrestricted voting rights. Jeannette Rankin won the election into the House of Representatives and became the very first woman of Congress. This was in 1916. According to Jeannette, she felt that problems could not be solved if a woman did not get involved. Shortly after beginning her term in 1917, the war resolution came to vote in the House. Rankin was one of 50 votes against the war. She also broke House protocol. She did this by saying a few words before voting. This is what she said: "I want to stand by my country, but I cannot vote for war." She was hated for this, but she remained true to her decision. She did not make many friends during this time. In 1918, Rankin became the driving force in the movement of unrestricted universal enfranchisement. She opened the congressional debate on a constitutional amendment granting universal suffrage to women. It passed in the House but was defeated by the Senate. But in 1919, a similar resolution was passed. It became the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution. She was the only woman who had ever voted to give women the right to vote. She did not have success in running for the next term. That was in 1918. She was defeated in the Republican primary. In 1924, Jeannette Rankin moved to Georgia, where she bought a farm. She was the lobbyist for peace and founded the Georgia Peace Society. Many years, she spoke in rallies for women's rights and peace. She also worked for the National Consumers League and as a secretary. It was 1940 when Jeannette Rankin returned to Montana to run successfully for Congress, where she won her second term at the House of Representatives. In 1942, the declaration of war against Japan was voted against by Rankin alone, and again she broke the House rule, saying, "As a woman, I can't go to war, and I refuse to send anyone else." She believed that violence was not the answer to any problem. She took a very courageous step, and she was denounced by everyone. She refused to change her decision, even though everyone else was trying to talk her into changing. She had courage and showed much bravery. She also abstained from the declaration of war against Germany. She did not seek re-election to Congress in 1942, This was the end of her political career, but not her activism. After leaving Congress, she abandoned politics and she devoted her energy to peace organizations and women's activist groups. She did some traveling into India and traveled the world. Jeannette Rankin led a group of 5,000 women in Washington, D.C. to protest the Vietnam War in 1968. She was 88 years old at that time. Jeannette Rankin died in 1973 on May 18th in Carmel, California, at the age of 92. The farm in Georgia was sold, and the funds from that farm was given to create the Jeannette Rankin Foundation. The foundation gives given scholarships to low-income mothers or women. Her legacy continues. In 1985, Jeannette Rankin was honored by a bronze statue that was placed at the U.S. Capitol. She dedicated a lifetime to achieving overall world peace, standing up for women, and making changes that might not have ever happened without her courage and determination.